Hey everybody, this is Eli with Premiere on Script. This is the start of video part 3 of our building an application so that we can remotely control our Adobe applications with WebSockets. I just left off wrapping up the building out the server side of our application, and now we need to build out our web page, which will look something like this when we're all done with it. So let's jump in and get started. Previously, we were sending just hello world over to our web page. We're going to get rid of that, and we will instead use express static and then send over the public folder. And that means we need to create that public folder. So over here, we will create public. And inside here, we will create a index.html file. Now I'm going to pause the video here and just copy and paste some template code over so you don't have to watch me typing out a whole HTML page. All right, so we're back, and this is the HTML page that we have. This is the page that I had from the previous example. We're going to rename this to Adobe Remote, and we will do this as well. And you can see I don't really have much going on here. I have a button with an ID of sender. We'll actually change this to retrieve seeks. And then I have a select menu with the ID of sequences, a couple breaks in there just for easy formatting. And then down at the bottom, I have a render button. The real key here is going to be at the bottom, include a script tag. And here we'll include socket.io/socket.io.js. This is going to allow us to have the socket.io client file that we need to run socket.io on the web page side. And then we're going to include a index.js JavaScript file. Now let's go create that. All right, so the first thing we have to do in here is create our socket connection. Now we've included the socket.io client file in our HTML page. So here, all we need to do for that is do const socket and then set that to IO, and we will listen to the root. And then we can go down here and set up, based off that socket object, socket.onConnect, and then we'll just have it log us out connected. So let's test this really quick. We'll come back down and we will start, and we'll see if we can get a connected result. So we'll come here, load this. Looks like we have all of our UI there. And if we inspect it in the console, we should see we have connected. And then over here, you can see from our server side, we are listening on port 3333, and we have a socket ID. So in the previous movie, that's what we included right here, is console log socket ID with the socket ID. So it looks like we are successfully connecting via WebSockets. Now we just have to write out all of the code to build out the rest of this page. Also, you saw that the UI came across looking good. Again, that's just 2 buttons and a select menu. And I'll include this code up on GitHub. Once I finish this whole tutorial, I'll push this code up on GitHub and include it in the link below. Okay, so let's go back to our diagram and see what we have to include from the web page side. So we need to listen to a button click event and then send off, emit a retrieve sequences event. We have to do some stuff around updating the sequence select menu here. And then we need to do another listen to the button 2 and emit a render sequence event along with some data with that. So let's do this one by one. We'll start with the request sequences button. So we will let request seeks equal, and the ID that we changed this to over here was retrieve seeks. And then we will add an event listener onto this, and we'll wait for a click event. And then we will trigger a request sequences function. Let's write that. And in here, just based on our diagram, this is where we're going to just send off, without any data associated, our first event. So we will go socket dot emit, and we will do request sequences. Now that we have that written, let's come back over here where we're going to have this, we're going to be listening for the request sequences event. I just want to log that we got this. Got it. And let's just test this out to make sure it's working properly. So if I come back over here and connect and I hit retrieve sequences, we should see got it over in our terminal, and we do. Got a bunch of got it's. So we are working all good there. Okay, so then that is triggering off our request sequences P-Pro emitter, which we'll be listening for on the Premiere Pro side a little bit later. Okay, so this is step 1. Let's come down and get started on step 2, which will be listening for an event with some sequence data of all the sequences coming over from Premiere. So we will do socket.on, and we're waiting for the update sequence list event. And from there, we have some data. First thing we'll do is let seeks equal JSON. We'll parse that data down. Then we will get our select menu element, which I believe we have named sequences. And the first thing I want to do now is I want to remove whatever options we have already in that select menu. So if we look at it now, there's just this none yet placeholder. We want to remove that and remove any previous sequences that have come across so that we have the most up-to-date information in that select menu. So let's create another function called remove options. And we'll come down and write this out. And then we'll write a for loop, but we'll decrement down through it so that we can remove all those options. Okay, so I think that should work there. Then we will come down. We have our JSON already parsed over here. So we'll do seeks for each. And we'll add these options back in. So let create a text node here. We want the text to be the name of the sequence that comes across, and the type of data that we send back over is an object, and that has name and node ID properties attached to the object. So we will create text node, and we'll use seek.name for that. Then we'll also add a value to that, and we'll set that equal to seek.node ID. And then we'll just add this to the select menu. And it looks like up here we also have to pass the select menu into this function. All right, so that is step 2, where we will be listening and doing some things based off of what we get over from Premiere. We have one more step, which is this render button down here. We have to emit a render sequence event and attach node ID data to that. So let's get onto that. I'm gonna come up here and copy and paste this stuff. But our ID this time is render button. We'll listen for render button. And this will kick off a function called render seek. Then we'll come down and write that. From here, we'll let the sequence equal document.getElementById, and we'll grab the value of that sequences select menu. Sequences.value. And then we'll do socket.emit, and we have a render sequence event that we're sending off. And we want to attach data with that, so we will attach the seek sequences value with that. All right, let's just run this and make sure we don't get any like errors or anything. Set this up. Looks good to me. Okay, so that is all we have for this movie. We have now a server and a web page set up. In the next movie, we're going to go into the building out our Premiere panel to listen and act upon all these events. And then in the final video after that, we'll discuss kind of next steps, and we'll push this whole thing out to Heroku so that you can actually control your Adobe app from your phone. So I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.